Kizuna India-Japan Study Forum, about which Dr. Ashok Jain, President of MOSAI, will apprise you shortly. On behalf of MOSAI and my own, I extend a very warm welcome to His Excellency Kunihiko Kawazu, Deputy Chief of Mission Embassy of Japan. I wish to express my gratitude to him for sparing time to grace the occasion despite his busy schedule. I welcome our dynamic scholar diplomat, Ambassador Deepa Gopalan Wadhwa, President India-Japan Friendship Forum. We are indeed very grateful to her for her guidance and encouragement in all our endeavors related to promoting India-Japan relations. It is difficult to envisage any activity pertaining to Japanese studies in India without the support of the Japan Foundation. I thank and welcome Mr. Koji Sato, Director General of the Japan Foundation, for being with us on this very important occasion. A very hearty welcome to the 6 star speakers of the day, 3 eminent paper presenters, Professor João Paulo Costa from Lisbon, Professor Masumi Igarashi from Okayama, and Mr. Mukund Kirsur from Bangalore, and 3 equally eminent discussants, Professor Elena Wouthan from Brittany, France. She would be joining us on screen. Professor Rajiv Lochan from New Delhi, and Dr. Ananta Raman from Bangalore. He would also be joining us on the screen. Last but not the least, I welcome the audience, both online and offline, for making the event vibrant and lively. It is indeed heartening to note their interest in the history of India-Japan cultural interactions. Thank you all for sparing your precious time to attend this inaugural event. With these words, I request Dr. Ashok Jain, President of MOSAI, to brief the audience about Kizuna India-Japan Study Forum. Dr. Ashok Jain, please. Thank you.
With your permission, Ambassador Wadhwa and Professor Sushila ji, may we have a minute of silence? Today is Prime Minister Abe's funeral in Japan. We would like to just pay our respects by observing a minute of silence. Thank you. Thank you. Well, friends, I would like to share with you the raison d'etre why we have set up this forum. I would like to fall back upon a very well thought out, beautifully worded formulation on the website of Gaimusho, Japan Foreign Affairs Ministry. And I quote, Indian culture filtered through Buddhism had a great impact on Japanese culture. Indian culture filtered through Buddhism had a great impact on Japanese culture and is the source of feeling of closeness of Japanese to India. Now, this is fascinating. The interaction with Buddhism was 8th century. And Guy Musho says, and when Guy Musho says, I know that the diplomats feel the pulse of two nations and have the facility of expressing it very concisely. Now, it's for the scholars, therefore, to go deep into this statement. How come an impact created in 8th century is still perceived as a source of closeness amongst Indians? And in a nutshell, this is what the Kizuna India-Japan Study Forum wishes to explore. The entire history. And clearly, the statement says that it's not Buddhism per se, it's the culture that filtered through. And therefore, our query is in this forum, what shape did the culture transform with the transformation of the society? Initially, yes, it was more in terms of the philosophical and spiritual context. But as society changes, the culture manifests in different forms. And I'm reminded of, in this context, Moto Ori Norinaga. That was the first response when the Western culture, foreign culture started impacting the Japanese culture. And it was this great thinker who once again very succinctly, Japanese success and minimization is something unique. Put in beautiful few words, the crux of Japanese culture, mono no aware. Beautiful. Empathy, closeness to things. And that's where the culture in products becomes a reality. Start looking at culture in products. And this is where for centuries, the exchange between the products, Indian and Japanese. And what were those products? This is the time before Industrial Revolution. So these were crafted products, handloom, craft products, pottery. These are all entirely human embodied, culture embodied products. For centuries, it's through these exchange of products that the feeling of closeness in transformed form kept being nurtured. Nourishment was available and it flourished, the closeness flourished. Once again, when the transformation takes place, technology came from abroad. And once again, the concept of Wakor Yosai. Beautiful. Western technology with Japanese ethos. Therefore, it seems that even when technology came to Japan, it had very consciously for the Japanese something culture, some human element in it, the ethos. And therefore, when we say that there will be skilling, there will be technology from Japan and so on, I think it's that ethos which is equally important, because that ethos is the closeness. The nurturing of closeness, the nourishment to closeness would come from capturing that ethos behind products, behind technology. And I think This is extremely important because it's a history, long history. I'm just giving you a few examples of handicrafts and so on. But once the product started reaching Japan, and here comes our friend from Portugal, it's they who started this, connecting India to Japan through shipping routes via East Asia, Southeast Asia. And now we talk about Southeast Asia, the network, and it's the cultural network that is there, but for us to explore. So what I'm saying is that I started off by quoting from Guy Motion, by saying that people who are seeped into bilateral, constituting bilateral relations, the so-called diplomats, they give us lead. And it's for the scholars to now go deep into those things. What better combination could we have? Diplomats, senior people, scholars, artists. The stage is set. Now, Musai only creates the stage, but the performance are there. The overall drama scenario is with us. Please perform. We have already started, in a sense, taking small steps. Today is the inauguration. We have planned monthly lectures online, physical, every month. And I'm told by Sushila ji, they have already lined up monthly lectures till April?
Yes.
Till April. Every month till April. In February, there is a big conference, webinar planned with 20 speakers already confirmed. So I think the stage is set. Performance has started performing. The motive behind this, right there. Ambassador Deepa Vasan, Sushila ji, and Igarashi-san. These three have been talking to each other, exchanging emails and so on. What name should be given and so on. And here we are on the inaugural day. Thank you so much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ashok Jain, for your very encouraging remarks. We'll continue it. Now I request Ambassador Deepa Gopalan Vadwa to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Sushila ji. If you don't mind, I'll sit here and speak. Professor Sushila Narasimhan, Dr. Ashok Jain, His Excellency, DCM of the Japanese Embassy, Kuniko Kawazu-san, Mr. Koji Sato of the Japan Foundation, all the speakers today who are here, who made this long journey to be here, discussants, those online, ladies and gentlemen who are joining us from different parts of the world. We heard just now a talk by, the inaugural remarks by Dr. Jain. And I think, I don't know, it probably so evidently came from the heart. I have never seen, people so dedicated to the cause of India-Japan relations as Mosai. And that just shows when governments invest in people and send scholars to each other's countries. This is actually an investment that lasts through life. And therefore, we have Mosai has been formed by the Mumbusho scholars, but they have continued at a time when, relations weren't what it was today. Relations today are really going through their best phase ever between our two countries. And if you look at political, security, economic, and, in every areas. But I think while we do talk about people-to-people relations, it is really something that requires much more attention than is given. And for that, we need really a much deeper understanding and knowledge of each other. My own experience when I went to Japan, I had lived in China, I knew Southeast Asia well. When I went to Japan, it was a revelation for me, the connections with India. I mean, it was very exciting to find these connections, but I was also aware that how little we knew about it. China connections we knew, Southeast Asia, of course, well documented. And ever since I was there, I really wanted this to be an area of focus where we could perhaps come out with some publications which would stay, which would actually be able to record these connections that are there, of course, starting from the 8th century, but through history. And this is really what Mosa has been able to do, I think, and particularly in this year, which is the 70th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations. The other day I was at an event and Kawazu-san was saying they've already been about 200 events to commemorate the 70th anniversary. There's so much actually to celebrate in our relationship. But I think this audience here, thank you so much for being here. This is really, really special. And to think already, it was an idea. And then you have this Kizuna study group, which is, come into being. We just heard that this conference, the kind of response it's got, and that the lectures already been settled till April. I'm sure that we'll be able to reach out to a larger audience. I think it's really important. And at the end of it, that we can come out with something. For at least 1400 years, India and Japan have been linked through spiritual affinity and strong cultural and civilizational ties, which have shaped and reshaped by the movement of people and goods and ideas via a variety of sea and land routes that traversed the expanse of Asia, resulting in intermingling of cultures, races, language, religion, and trading goods. We do have, a record, perhaps, as we spoke about, around the 8th to maybe the 8th, 9th century. And then you have some periods in between of quiet when there is not enough information that's available. And this is, I think, an area that requires attention. Despite colonial disruptions and post-colonial disconnects created by the West, approximately 16th to the 20th centuries, in these age-old connectivities, the core civilizations have retained their regional aesthetic identity, but at the same time enriching and being enriched by inter-Asian and East-West cross-cultural encounters. While the historical perspectives of many processes have been traced and studied, there still remain many gaps and missing links which need further research. It is important to promote discussion among an international group of scholars to examine these relationships, to better understand the relationship between India and Japan and the impact Asian transit routes, especially Southeast Asia, have had upon this exchange. I was associated with the international conference, which was held in November 2018. And that was really my introduction to these wonderful people of Mosai, so dedicated and so giving in what they do. And it was called Unearthing Lesser Known Aspects of India-Japan Historical and Cultural Interactions. They released a book which they put together of the talks. It was a wonderful conference over a couple of days. And I would really recommend that book. I don't know whether it's available for people. Online and free. And I really think that's a huge, wonderful asset for anybody who wants to be able to read them. I'm also co-chair of the advisory committee of the planned webinar that Ashokji just spoke about, Discovering India-Japan Civilizational Ties and Southeast Asia Connectivities. The webinar will examine the interconnectivity of the whole of Asia, that is South Asia, East Asia, Southeast Asia, Central Asia, direct or indirect by land or by sea. Expanding the geographic confines of the discussion will help to highlight missing links of India-Japan cultural and historical connections. The Indian Ocean Maritime Network, especially between India and Japan, was replete with flows and connections that through multidisciplinary tools can enrich our understanding. We talk about the Indo-Pacific today, but I think this Indo-Pacific was there a long time ago. And in fact, one of the first who spoke about this continuum between the two oceans was perhaps the Portuguese, because they were able to traverse the oceans between the two countries. Some of the topics of the February webinar which will cover are, and papers have been sought for, and I think we've got a response, but they will not be limited to, but these are some of the subjects. Early Buddhist links. While Japanese and Chinese sources gave valuable information about the activities of Bodhisena in Japan, very little is known about who he was, who accompanied him to Japan, in fact, which is a route he took, because you have different views of the routes that he took. And I come from the South myself. So there's also, I think, quite a question about his origins, that people who say he came from Kanjipuram, but there are, I think, other versions also from where he originated. So what is the role of overseas monks in popularizing Indian and Southeast Asian culture, rituals, and so on in 8th century Japan? I mean, how was this easy acceptance of an Indian who came across? I've always wondered, and we talk about Emperor Shomu, but the kind of respect that was given to him in that short period of time, it's something quite amazing when you think of it. And I think I began actually my stay, I would say my pilgrimage in Japan with Nara. Because I think that is where most Indians really should start to realize the connection. The other subject that we want to look at in this conference is Trans-Regional Maritime Highway. Even before the opening of direct European voyages to Asia, there existed a vibrant seaborne mobility by migrants, merchants, warriors, cultural activists, religious preachers through the Indian Ocean. India's centrality in this route and the demand for Indian goods, as we know, textiles, batik, pepper, played a vital role in the circulation of information and inter-Asian cross-cultural encounters. We would also like to talk about the centers that encourage this trade, Asian port cities, and local and other foreign cultural interactions, which in a way catalyze this connect between Japan and India. We do know that there was a craze for Chinese and Japanese artifacts, but not only in Europe but also in the Mughal period. So there is so much to be studied between the two countries. I myself was quite amazed before I went. It was a chance trip. I'd gone to Jodhpur, and I went to a particular shop that has some so-called antiques. And while I was in the basement trying to look at very dusty things, I found a huge ceramic plate of what looked like Vishnu and Lakshmi. And it was so different. So I picked it up, and it wasn't expensive at all. And I took it at that point of time. No, I was not going to Japan. I think I was going to some other posting. And then finally, this plate came with me, landed up in Japan. And when I reached there, I realized it was Japanese. That at the early 20th century, that these majolica tiles, in fact, had come, and that you could find them in most well-to-do Indian households in the puja rooms of Indian gods. And what I have is really, really special. The fact that it sort of was perhaps, pointing me in the direction of Japan. So there are connections like this. Later, I heard that this particular, that Indians adopting and opting for majolica ties made in Japan versus what the British had was in a way us protesting, the British colonialism by saying that there was an Asian source. So there's so much of history that really needs to be studied. So there are various things that we can, look at. We know architecture, food, landscapes, the music, poetry, and so on. But I do hope that we will in the talks that are going to come and in the conference that is going to be held in February, look at these areas. And I do hope more people will join. And that this will see really, it's very important to me that we are able to in some way put it down in a publication that will stay, that will remain, that will not stay just in the realm of talks that we have. But thank you very much for being present here, and thank you for your efforts. I go back to this because it's really important, Sushila ji and Ashok ji. I know how much work has gone into this. Thank you very much for the support of the Japan Foundation and of the embassy, and we really count on the support. What am I doing here? I must say that of the various aspects of India-Japan relations, which fascinated me, and it's such an important relationship, this is what perhaps I love the most. So which is why I'm here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Wadhwa, for highlighting various areas and for your information. We have a speaker for our February conference who is speaking on majolica tiles, which were inspired by Raja Ravi Verma's paintings. So now may I request His Excellency Kunihiko Kawazu to say a few words.
Dr. Ashok Jain, President of MOSAI, Professor Sushila Narushman Sensei, Forum Advisory Board Member and Governor, Ambassador Deepa Gopalan Vadova Taishi, President of India-Japan Friendship Forum, Mr. Koji Sato-san, Director General of the Japan Foundation, New Delhi, distinguished scholars, artists, and participants, ladies and gentlemen. Namaskar, konnichiwa, good afternoon, good evening, good morning to all over the world. First of all, I would express my sincere thanks to be a part of this inaugural seminar of the India-Japan Study Forum. I feel very much honored. And today, there are a bunch of researchers, scholars, and experts active all over the world are participating in this precious seminar. My thanks go to MOSAI, of course, the host of this forum, and the president of MOSAI, Mr. Ashok Jain. And to Jain-san, thank you very much for proposing the minute of silence for our great statesman, former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, and also mentioning the Mono no Aware and Wakon Yosai, which I have not heard in India so far, but I hope that I could hear such very high-end, difficult Japanese words and terminology in India, which will be a very deep evidence for the mutual understanding. MOSAI has been playing an instrumental role as a secretariat for Japan Alumni Association, and also very much active in the various activities like the Japanese education and Japan research like this. Another good example is the All India Japanese Language Speech Contest. The most recent one, the 33rd one, was held quite recently, and I participated in this contest too. I am one of the strongest believers of the MOSAI's activities, which will lead to the better and enhanced bilateral relations between India and Japan. My thanks go to the Ambassador Wadwa too. You are always helping us, helping the Embassy of Japan, as well as the Indo-Japan relations in general. You are kindly heading this important framework in India-Japan Friendship Forum, IJFF. IJFF implemented 2 webinars so far in this important anniversary year. The first one was the future of digitalization in India and Japan. The second is called India-Japan Cooperation for Women Empowerment, focus on Technical Intern Training Program, TITP, and Specified Skilled Workers, SSWs. We appreciate such the webinars a lot. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, like Mr. Jain, President Jain mentioned, the both countries, India and Japan, we have been nurturing our strong cultural bond, starting from the Buddhism exchange in the ancient era. I am very glad to hear that the Ambassador Vadua mentioned Nara as a place, the travel destination for Indians. I would like to associate myself with Ambassador very much. In this context, I would like to recommend our Japanese people to visit the Ajanta and Ellora, which I visited quite recently, 2 weeks ago. The painting in the cave #1 in Ajanta. This is very, very important. This painting reminds me of the Horyuji temple in Nara. This is a very clear evidence how close we were through the Buddhism in the old times. And now, looking at our bilateral relations, the economy is good, security is also good, but the people-to-people exchanges, the cultural exchanges, I believe that we have still the big space of improvement, like Ambassador Vadua foreshadowed in her speech. Both leaders recognize this point. The India and Japan have had twice the leaders meeting in this year. The first one was the March and the second one was May. Both leaders, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and our Prime Minister Kishida, agreed upon the necessity to further advance the people-to-people exchanges as well as the cultural exchanges in this important anniversary year. Also, this month, September, Foreign Minister Jai Shankar paid a visit to Japan, and he had a strategic dialogue with his counterpart, our Foreign Minister Hayashi, and they also shared the recognition that this area, people-to-people exchange and cultural exchange, should be further promoted, including the better utilization of the IT human resources of India, also the specialized skilled workers of India. I do believe that we are going into the, so to say, post-corona era slowly. I do hope that the opportunities of the mutual understanding, opportunities of the mutual visits between two peoples will be increased in coming future. Ladies and gentlemen, in this context, I would like to reiterate that this Kizuna India-Japan Study Forum is very much timely. I just heard that the monthly lectures will be continued up until the April next year. The experts, scholars will deepen the researches for our histories and cultural exchanges, and the outcome will be compiled in a book. I do believe that this will enhance our mutual understanding. Today's first topic is the Portuguese ship in 16th century. This is what I heard. Average standard Japanese, including myself. When listening to Kurofune, we, the Japanese people, think about the military ship headed by Admiral Perry from the United States in the 19th century. But I am told that this word, Kurofune, appears on the Japanese-Portuguese dictionary edited by the Christianity missionary to Japan in the 16th century. For the Japanese people, the fact that the Portuguese ship arrived at Tanegashima Island in the year of the 1543, and through this, the canon was brought to Japan. This historic fact is so famous. The elementary school. This is something we learn in the elementary school. But I believe that no Japanese knows that this Portuguese ship was a giant black Portuguese carack, which was called Kurofune. And also this travel of the Portuguese Kurofune was the sort of the establishment of the sea route between Goa and Nagasaki, meaning between India and Japan. And I believe that this is really the start of the concept, free and open Indo-Pacific FOIP. Like that, it is very much important to shed a light on the under-researched aspects of the exchanges between India and Japan. And more importantly, to share such facts between two peoples. For that purpose, this forum is a very good basis for the development of our bilateral relations towards future. It is truly worthwhile. And for this important seminar, Professor Igarashi Masumi Sensei, Okayama University kindly traveled to India and participate in this seminar. I hope that the experts, researchers, scholars in various areas will interact in this important fora, and this will contribute to the researches for our bilateral relations. In conclusion, again, I would like to express my sincere thanks to the President Jane Mosai and Ambassador Badoa, all of the researchers, scholars, experts to be a part of this important event. Danya Ward, arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your very inspiring comments and remarks. Now I invite Mr. Koji Sato to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Sushila Sensei. Dr. Ashok Jain, President of MOSAI, Ambassador Ipawadwa, DCM, Mr. Kunihiko Kawazu, distinguished scholars, speakers, and guests, ladies and gentlemen. After listening to wonderful, enlightening speech by the just previous speakers. Just I know that maybe this could be just the redundancy of just what they talked brilliantly. So let me very much brief. I just want to congratulate Mosai on the launch of this wonderful Kizuna India-Japan Study Forum. おめでとうございます. Today, in a year that marks the 70th anniversary of diplomatic relations between our two countries, we are happy to observe steady development of our relations in all sectors, thanking to the strong leadership by the past and current leaders of the two countries. At the same time, it is, of course, not only the national leaders who have made our strong bonds, which now just we are enjoying. Throughout the continued interactions and exchange of many people of the countries, we have nurtured special affinity or closeness and shared values and cultures. With this in mind, I respect very much Mosai's role and activities to discuss and record the footprints of exchanges between the two countries by holding a symposium in 2018 and publishing the record of this symposium last year, which Ambassador Wadwa just mentioned or introduced. And I am very pleased that Mosai has launched a forum to discuss further the relationship between the two countries as an extension of these efforts. I occasionally open and read the record of this symposium, India-Japan Narratives, which records many little-known facts about the direct and indirect interactions between the people of the two countries and their influence on each other's society and culture. It is often said that after Bodhisena's performance at the eye-opening ceremony of Lushana Butsu, Buddha statue at Todaiji in 752, we had to wait for more than 1,000 years of almost no contact between us until the 20th century for the actual substantial contact and exchange to start. But it is not as such actually, and rich exchanges had continued through trade and other activities of people since the medieval and early modern periods. And also in the modern period, other than often referred Okakura Tagore encounter, the detail of which should be learned by many, there are lots of exchanges and collaborations between Japanese and Indians that contributed to strengthening our trust and bonds. We can learn about it and be inspired very much through this book. Intellectual dialogue on India-Japan Kizuna bond will go on through the forum. Through this forum that has been launched today, let us learn and be inspired from this history of exchange. And from this moment on, let us create a new history of friendship and partnership. I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to just all the people just who made today's launch event possible, including the IIC for just hosting this memorable seminar today in this wonderful venue. Just my thanks goes to all the distinguished speakers and scholars. And thank you very much, Jane-san, Ambassador Wadwa, Sushiraji, and all the organizers. Especially just the speakers just who traveled just all the way, hundreds or 1,000 kilometers during this COVID period. It is really, really happy moment that just finally just we could do this kind of, very normal thing that we used to do in a COVID period, pre-COVID period. So, but anyhow, thank you very much for coming all the way just to enlighten us at this seminar. So we are all so excited to learn from today's discussion about our predecessors' rich interactions, which may give us hope that we can do more in this age of globalization. So let us enjoy the historical journey today. Thank you very much. Dhanyavad.
Thank you very much, Sato-san. Now I thank all the audience and all the speakers. And now we wish to start our seminar session. And Ambassador Padwa, she will chair the seminar sessions. So, now we would just like to show the- do we reduce the time? Oh,
Questions will come.
Oh.
Should I go?
Hmm.